It's Gatorade!
Greetings, my fellow decrepits, invalids, and other sick people. I hope you're doing well today and that you're fighting the good fight. Today, we're talking about what is really in your Gatorade. So, I recently did one of these videos for Febreze, the air freshener, and well, I thought I'd do one for Gatorade. And if you guys enjoy these videos, I'd love for you to comment down products below that you'd like me to research and look into and things that we can talk about. So, if you have any suggestions, please leave them down below in the comments section. I really appreciate it. But today, we're talking about Gatorade. So this particular bottle of Gatorade has actually been sitting in my fridge for months now, which historically is very uncommon. There's no way a bottle of Gatorade would have sat in my fridge any more than a month in the past in my life. But as many of you know who watch this channel, I have been battling with a chronic illness, chronic fatigue syndrome, for over 2 years now. And so I am progressively trying to reduce the amount of chemicals in my food, in my household products. I'm trying to find as many ways as I can boost my health naturally as possible because I want to get better. I'm tired of being sick, and I'm going to try to do everything I can to get there. But like I said, this is a drink I've enjoyed for years. I loved it on a hot summer day or after a workout. This is America's sports drink, right? I mean, all the athletes drink it. At least as far as we know, they drink it. They at least have it on the sidelines, right? Just like the video I played at the beginning of this video from the Super Bowl. There's always Gatorade on the field. How much of it is actually drunk, I don't know. I guess we'd have to look into that a little bit. But if people are looking for an electrolyte drink, something that's going to give them a little boost after their workout, typically I think people go for something like Gatorade or Powerade or something along those lines. But today we are going to be looking into the ingredients on a much closer scale and trying to figure out if this is something that we should actually be drinking and if there might be a better alternative as well. Now, quick disclaimer, this video is just my opinion based on a few hours of research into Gatorade. That does not make me an expert, and I'm not telling you what you should or should not do with this product. I'm just trying to do a little bit deeper dive into what goes into this thing and then make a decision for myself about whether or not I want to drink it, and then let you do with that information whatever you choose. All right, so I'm going to put a little chart here. It's going to have 3 categories that are going to show the score that I give each ingredient. So the 3 categories are going to be safe, unsure, and unsafe. After we discuss each ingredient, I will put these ingredients into one of 3 categories, officially stating my opinion on whether or not these ingredients should be in our sports drinks. All right, so let's start with the first ingredient on the list. Let's pull up our Gatorade bottle here, and what does it say? First ingredient says water. Pretty safe to say, I think, that water is safe. We need it to survive. We gotta drink it every single day. The only thing I'm going to ask you, please, is do not ever, ever, ever replace Gatorade with your daily water intake. Gatorade is not water. It is a lot of sugar, a lot of electrolytes, things that can be useful in a certain context, but please do not replace your everyday drinking water with Gatorade. Go pour yourself a glass of water and drink that instead. But water is safe. Now let's do ingredient number 2, which is sugar. All right, so sugar is a little bit of a tricky one for a few reasons. On this particular ingredient, I will say this, they use a couple kinds of sugars, okay? But this particular sugar, I believe, is just like the regular sugar you'd have in your house. As far as I know, that I can figure out that they're just talking about regular sugar. So is sugar bad for you? So basically where I'm leaning on this one is that no, sugar is not bad for you, in the sense that it's not like a harmful chemical, or it's not something that's going to ruin your health by itself and in small quantities. That said, I think most of us in America and in the Western world in general, I think we all eat far too much sugar. And so I think my big hesitancy would be that adding sugar to your drinks is probably one of the last things we should be doing, because I think we're getting way too much sugar in our food in general. And so really not the best move when it comes to a drink. We also got to think about the fact that sugar and carbs are like the favorite food of disease, of viruses, of the cold and flu. They love sugar, just like we do, And so with that, we have to be very careful with sugar. There's nothing wrong, with having a little bit of dessert now and then, or if you go run a marathon and you want to reward yourself with a bottle of Gatorade, that's probably okay. But we have to be very careful with sugar and how we consume it. So, all that said, I am going to give sugar the safe status, but please proceed with caution. Sugar should be consumed in very small quantities, and honestly, I think a lot of us would really benefit from doing a sugar fast from time to time. I'm actually considering trying one here soon just to see how I feel. But yes, sugar technically safe, in my opinion. All right, ingredient number 3 is dextrose. So, according to WebMD, dextrose is a type of sugar that usually comes from corn or wheat. It is almost identical to glucose, which is the sugar found in the bloodstream. For that reason, it can be quickly used as a source of energy by the human body. Dextrose is often used in foods as an artificial sweetener or preservative. So, like I just said, dextrose is another type of sugar. It comes from wheat and corn. Kind of like fructose is another sugar that comes from fruits. Obviously, that's like the best kind of sugar. And then glucose is the kind of sugar that's in our bloodstream. So, again, as far as I could tell, I don't think there's anything wrong with dextrose. My only concern, like I just read in that article, is that it says it is used as an artificial sweetener. So, I don't know if they are changing the dextrose in some capacity when they use it in drinks like this. As far as I know, if you are simply using the sugar from the wheat and the corn, I think that as far as I know, that is still a natural substance. Actually, let me just do my due diligence and look here. So, quick Google search of is dextrose natural? It says dextrose is a natural sugar derived from starch sources like corn, wheat, and rice, and it's chemically identical to the body's own glucose. However, it's not categorically called a natural product because of the extraction and refinement process, and because it's most commonly found in processed foods. So there, I think that actually probably gives us our answer that it is not a natural product. It is not a natural product because of the methods which they use to extract it from the corn and the wheat and the rice. So with all that information together, I might be slightly generous and leave this one in the unsure category. I feel like it might go either way, meaning it might be safe. There wasn't a ton I found that was super concerning. That said, there's also just enough wrong with it that maybe we should consider using something else. For my own judgment, I'm going to simply call dextrose as unsure. All right, next we have citric acid. Now, citric acid is another one of those that is a little bit complicated because, in theory, it is an organic compound. It is a colorless, weak organic acid that is derived from citrus fruits. Now, if we look up is citric acid toxic, we get the following result. It says citric acid is generally considered safe, but some people think that manufactured citric acid may play a role in inflammation and conditions ranging from asthma to fibromyalgia. Now, here's something I learned on my study of Febreze. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration states that citric acid is generally recognized as safe as a direct food additive. However, since the early 1900s, approximately 99% of the world's production of manufactured citric acid has been developed from black mold. And upon further research, I figured out that pretty much all of our household cleaning products, or anytime we use citric acid in our food and drinks, it is usually this black mold. Just like this says, 99% of the world's production of manufactured citric acid, which would be the stuff that we use when in everything that we buy, is made from black mold. Mold is absolutely horrible for our bodies, for our immune systems. It is very taxing on our body, and so we should not be putting citric acid in this capacity in our food and our drinks. Now, if you want to go squeeze a lemon, and throw that in your drink, that's fantastic. But the process by which they are extracting the citric acid and growing it is very unnatural and very harmful for our bodies. And for those reasons, I am going to deem citric acid as unsafe. For ingredient number 5, technically, we're doing natural and artificial flavors because they lump them together into one ingredient. I'm assuming that is for legal reasons to protect them, that somehow that's going to make it better because they're mixed together or something. From my research, though, it's pretty stinking obvious. A food or beverage product, if it contains natural or artificial flavors, the natural flavors are derived from real food, and the artificial flavors are chemically engineered and added to the food or drink. So, to me, this one's pretty black and white. Natural is good, artificial is bad. So, unlike Gatorade, we are going to separate these two ingredients. Natural flavors will be on the safe side, and artificial flavors will be on the unsafe side. Number 6, we have salt. Salt, I'm going to kind of put into a similar category as sugar, basically in the sense that it is naturally occurring. There's nothing inherently bad with salt. Again, I think in the Western world, we tend to eat too much of salt. Again, nothing wrong with salt in your food a little bit, but we tend to go get French fries from McDonald's that are loaded in salt. Then we go get chips that are covered in salt. Then we go get Gatorade that is full of salt. And so we are just over salting our bodies, essentially. Now, salt is important, and this is one of the reasons that Gatorade adds it into, or sorry, I should say, one of the reasons Gatorade adds salt to its beverage is because when we exercise, when we sweat, one of the things that we sweat out, well, we mostly sweat out water, but we do sweat out salt and electrolytes and a few minerals in the process. So that is kind of the goal of Gatorade, is that when we are sweating and exercising, we're losing a lot of this fluid and we're trying to replenish it back into our body. Now, is Gatorade the best way to do that? That's a question we're going to talk about at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. But yes, by itself, salt is a safe ingredient. Just don't eat too much. Up next, we have sodium citrate. So, what is that? Sodium citrate is produced through a chemical process introducing sodium hydroxide or other synthetics to a naturally fermented citric acid. So, again, they're taking something that is natural, citric acid, and they're chemically altering it with synthetic materials. So, right off the bat, this is not something that we should be digesting. Again, if Gatorade wants to include citric acid, then just squeeze a lemon into it, please, or something along those lines. But citric acid by itself is not good for us. Also, according to the EPA's review of industry submitted toxicity data and the potential for human exposure, concludes that this substance poses a low risk for human health. Now, I'm the kind of person that low risk to me, especially in legal terms, is too risky for me. I don't want something that has a low risk or even a potential for low toxicity to be going into my body. This is one of the many problems with our food industry right now, is that too many of our ingredients, I think, are on the low side of toxic, on the low side of hazardous. And so because they aren't typically harmful, they're allowed into our foods. But really, we should be eating things and drinking things that are not harmful to our bodies at all, but rather are nourishing and healing to our bodies. So, in my opinion, sodium citrate is unsafe. All right, next on our list is monopotassium phosphate, which is also known as potassium dihydrogen phosphate. It is a chemical compound commonly used in agriculture, food processing, and as a dietary supplement. While it offers several benefits, it is crucial to understand the potential side effects associated with its use. Monopotassium phosphate is generally considered safe when used in accordance with prescribed guidelines. However, excessive intake or misuse can lead to various side effects. One of the primary concerns is its effect on the gastrointestinal system. Consumption of large amounts of monopotassium phosphate can cause stomach cramps, diarrhea, and nausea. These symptoms occur due to the compound's high phosphate content, which can disrupt the delicate balance of electrolytes in the body. All right, there's a lot in that. Yes, again, this is one of those instances where everything seems like it's technically fine, but you notice that the concern is that in high amounts it might cause issues to your gastrointestinal system. There's concerns that it may cause things like nausea and stomach cramps, and even diarrhea. Not to mention that it can actually cause imbalance to the electrolytes in your system. So that the drink that is supposed to be helping us replenish our electrolytes may actually be causing harm to our body's own production of these electrolytes and messing up the balance in our system. Now, again, I'm sure that Gatorade is going to say that the amount that they have in here is not harmful. There's not enough in here to cause any kind of real harm. But that's again one of those situations where I just have to wonder, if there is this potential, why are we doing it in the first place? And again, if we look at Americans, so many of us have gastrointestinal issues. That is one of the things my doctor is working on me with right now, is working on trying to fix and to heal my gut, because so much of our immune system and so much of our response to disease happens in the gut. And so I guess in my mind, if I'm trying to live a healthier life, that the last thing I want to put into my body is something that even has a small potential to mess up my gut. So even if it's safe 90% of the time, what if I'm the 10%? I have a strange feeling though that it's ingredients like this in our food that affect a lot more people than we realize. Now that's just me speculating. I don't necessarily have data to back that up, but that is just my opinion. And so I personally am going to deem monopotassium phosphate as unsafe. Next on the list, we got modified food starch. Now, this one seems a little complicated to me. The name in my mind would imply that there's a problem. But upon looking into it, I'm a little bit unsure, but let's talk about it. So I first looked up, is consuming modified food starch safe? So the believed answer to this is yes. Modified starch has almost no nutritive value, hence it is extensively used in processed food products. It does not disturb the nutritive value of any food it is added in. Now, a couple key words there. There's almost no nutritive value, so why are we eating it in the first place? And then two, used in processed food products. So to me, those are a couple of red flags, but let's keep looking. Is modified food starch harmful? It says modified food starch is literally just plant starches like corn, potato, tapioca, etc. It is not bad for you. Modified food starch is used in a lot of food in order for people who cannot eat gluten to be able to eat food. If they didn't use modified food starch, they would probably use flour. Now, I guess in my you know, opinion, it seems like maybe using flour would be the better option because we know what that is. But again, the last little piece I want to show you here down a little bit farther is it says modified starch does not mean that it has been genetically modified or produced from genetically modified organisms. Modified starch is the starch extracted from grains and vegetables, which has been treated to improve its ability to keep the texture and structure of the food. So again, there's just a few little red flags there. There's lots of stuff saying it's safe, but there's just a few little red flags, talking about how it's extracted, because that instantly makes me think of the dextrose and how that was unsafe because of the way they pull it out. So I wonder the same thing here. And then number two, it says it has been treated to improve its ability to keep the texture and structure of the food. So what are they treating it with? That I don't know. So for me, there were several little articles talking about how everything seems safe, everything seems fine, there's no nutritional value here, but I still think there's enough red flags that it causes some concern and maybe warrants a little bit more research. And so for me personally right now, I'm going to leave this in the unsure category. I feel like it could probably go either way. If it were me making the Gatorade, I would lean towards leaving it out probably. I might use flour, like they said, would be a better, or would be another alternative. To me, flour is much more natural and something that we all understand. So, all that said, I'm going to say that modified food starch is in the unsure category. All right, we're getting to the last two ingredients. So right now we have glycerol ester of rosin. There is at least a natural element to this ingredient. So glycerol ester of wood rosin, also known as glycerol ibietate or ester gum, is an oil-soluble food additive. The food-grade material is used in foods, beverages, cosmetics, etc. Now, there's a difference. Again, as always, there's always like two forms of this. So over here on the left, we read that certain forms of glycerol ester of wood rosin do not contain genetically modified organisms. Is glycerol ester of wood rosin safe for children? Yes, however, it is primarily found in sweets and soft drinks, which can lead to child obesity if not consumed in safe quantities. One other thing to know about glycerol esters of wood resin would be that, according to National Library of Medicine, this ingredient has undergone re-evaluation. It seems to me that this article is still deeming it as safe. I'm not trying to sound like all these things are horrible for you, but the alarm bell starts going off in my head when I hear reevaluation, because I start to wonder, well, why is it being reevaluated? I would assume that there were some kind of complaints or some kind of, you know, lawsuit or something about it. And so I'm kind of sitting here looking at this and going, what's the deal here? The ingredient is derived from plants, and so again, it's got this natural root. But it seems again to me that there are some processes undergoing that are changing it or modifying it for our foods. Even in the EU, European Union, it is given the label E, which they give E and a number in Europe to categorize different chemical food additives. And so it's falling under that chemical category still, you know. And so because of all that information, I would either lean towards unsure or unsafe. I might be generous and put this one in unsure for now, because they are looking into it again. And so, I mean, that could be a good or bad thing, I suppose. It could be further proof that it is safe, or further questioning that maybe we shouldn't consume this. So this is what gets so difficult with food, is I think that a lot of our food starts from a very natural place. A lot of it, not all of it. But and then we tend to modify it or change it to suit our needs in a mass production format. And so because of that, it makes certain ingredients a little bit complicated. And so I'm going to put this rosin into that category and say unsure. All right, our last ingredient, and this is where the fun begins.
Fun begins.
So all of these various color dyes, this is where companies really get into trouble. This is where a lot of the concern lies with much of our processed foods, is it in these dyes. So if all the other ingredients were put onto a scale from 0 to 10 in severity, maybe if 0 is no threat at all and 10 is an extreme threat, then maybe a lot of the ingredients I talked about earlier, maybe they fall in somewhere between like a 3 and a 6 or a 7 kind of category. A lot of these dyes fall into more of the 8, 9, and 10 category. There's a lot of danger with a lot of these and a lot of concerns. So let's start looking into Blue 1, which is just one of the many colors that Gatorade uses. So I just happen to have the blue Gatorade, and so we're looking to Blue 1. So Brilliant Blue is a synthetic organic compound. I love how they have synthetic and organic together to try and make you think this thing is natural. It's synthetic. It's a synthetic organic compound used primarily as a blue colorant for processed foods, medications, dietary supplements, and cosmetics. It is classified as a trilomethane dye and is known under various names such as FD and C and blue number, etc. All right, so Blue 1 was not found to be toxic in key rat and mouse studies, but an unpublished study suggested the possibility that Blue 1 caused kidney tumors in mice, and a preliminary in vitro study raised questions about possible effects on nerve cells. Blue 1 may not cause cancer, but confirmatory studies should be conducted. Isn't that interesting that we're drinking something that has not even been confirmed to not cause cancer? And why is that question being brought up? Now, even if Blue 1 doesn't cause cancer, according to the National Institute of Health, Blue 1 consumption has not been found to cause tumors in rats. However, it has been found to inhibit nerve cell development in vitro, and its use has been related to skin irritations and bronchial constriction. And one other thing to note is that food dyes can make some children and teens hyperactive, moody, or irritable, according to available research. And if they eat these dyes on a regular basis, then the norm would be to expect things like being very high strung and being anxious. Which isn't it interesting that our young people have such a problem with anxiety right now, and we are filling them with chemicals like this. All of that to say, there is a lot to be concerned about with Blue One dye. That alone would be a reason to avoid drinking Gatorade, let alone all the other colors that all have various problems of their own. So, yes, I am deeming Blue One as unsafe. All right, so we got through all 12 ingredients of Gatorade. I want to thank you for powering through that with me. So let's kind of recap over everything we got. So we had 4 ingredients that were safe. Those ingredients being water, sugar, natural flavors, and salt. We had 3 ingredients that we were unsure about, being dextrose, modified food starch, and glycerol ester of rosin. And we had 5 products that were deemed unsafe, starting with citric acid because they produce it from black mold for our manufactured products, artificial flavors, sodium citrate, monopotassium phosphate, and blue dye 1. So overall, in my opinion, we have more unsafe ingredients than safe ingredients. Not that that comparison is the final determination, but it is strong evidence pointing towards that Gatorade is an unsafe product and something we should not be drinking. Now, my goal in these videos is not just simply to scare you and say, don't ever drink Gatorade again, but I want to try and leave you with a more natural alternative that you can turn to and still have a good, refreshing drink after a workout. So let's take a look at an alternative now. So first of all, I'm going to kind of rapid fire a few different options, and then we'll look at one actual ingredient list together of something you can make at home. So a few examples of alternatives to Gatorade. Number 1 would be coconut water. Coconut water is a natural source of electrolytes. It's low in calories and has a sweet flavor. You can also just have a glass of water and add electrolytes to it. Now, some of the electrolyte powders I'm sure are better than others, so try to look into those and find a good and healthy option for that as well. I wouldn't just throw any old powder into your drink. Find something that seems to be healthy and beneficial to your body. But you could also do diluted fruit juice. So, fruit juice is great. It's also very high in sugar, just like Gatorade. And so, one option though you could do is that you could have a cup and you could do, half and half water, half fruit juice, or find a combination that works for you, but trying to dilute it in some way so you're getting a little bit less of the sugar, but still getting that benefit of getting some of those calories and those electrolytes back into your body. There are also some herbal teas that can replenish electrolytes, as well as you can simply buy water that is already infused with electrolytes. However, I personally might stay away from some of those. I feel like you're going to run into a similar category as Gatorade. Technically, Gatorade is infused water. If you're looking at Gatorade from a 30,000-foot view, that's kind of where it lands. I recognize that it's not that categorically, but it's kind of that same idea. So I might stay away from that one. Now let's look at a homemade Gatorade option or a homemade electrolyte drink that you can make. All right, so I hopped on over to Illinois Cancer Care, which is a cancer care facility, and they actually have their own recipe for making some homemade electrolyte drinks. Now, first, let me read their quick little blurb that they have at the top of this webpage. It says, our oncology dietitians recommend making your own homemade electrolyte drinks. Simply make a large batch and keep it in the fridge to have on hand. These recipes are a great alternative to store-bought drinks and can be used to help combat dehydration, a common concern for cancer patients during treatment. Now, I'm sure that I am sure that electrolyte replenishment is very beneficial for cancer patients regardless, but I also have to wonder, why is the cancer facility encouraging you to make your own Gatorade? What do they know about Gatorade that we don't? That's just me kind of speculating, and maybe you disagree, maybe I'm looking into it too far. But I just start to wonder when a cancer facility is telling you to make your own. It starts to raise some flags or some alarm bells go off in my mind. But anyway, we're moving on from that. They have 2 recipes here. Let's look at them together. First, they have a homemade citrus electrolyte drink. The ingredients are a half a cup of fresh orange juice, a quarter cup of fresh lemon juice, 2 cups of water, filtered or raw coconut water, 2 teaspoons of organic raw honey or organic maple syrup, and 1/8 teaspoon, of Himalayan pink salt. Now, remember what I was saying with the Gatorade on how they should be putting just regular lemon juice into their water instead of all those fake citric acids they're throwing in here? Look at that. These guys are making their own and they're throwing in actual lemon juice. Just kind of, again, proving my point that the ingredients that they're choosing, they could make much better decisions. And their second option down here says a homemade strawberry lemonade electrolyte drink. Sounds good to me. This one is a half cup of fresh or frozen strawberries, a quarter cup of fresh lemon juice, 2 cups of water, filtered or raw coconut, 2 tablespoons of organic raw honey, and 1/8 teaspoon of Himalayan pink salt. Put all these ingredients into a blender, blend it up, and then store it and serve whenever you are thirsty. So there you go. That's 2 options of something you could make at home with very few ingredients. You could make it in a big batch and just kind of leave it in your fridge. Maybe one of these days, maybe I'll make a batch and I'll make a video about that and just kind of tell you what I think about it. So, but there you go. I hope this video was informative to you. Again, my goal was not to try and scare anyone or say that this is going to kill you. I'm just trying to do a little bit more research into these things. Again, this was by no means extensive. Before I filmed this video, I simply did a few hours of research looking into these ingredients, and I've kind of come away with a few opinions about it. So if you agree or disagree, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Maybe I'm wrong on something, and maybe one of these ingredients is safe that I deemed as unsafe, and maybe one of the ingredients I deemed as safe is unsafe. So I would love to just hear your thoughts down below. Again, this channel is meant to be a community of sick people coming along together, trying to learn how to exercise with a chronic illness, trying to learn how to get healthy together. I am not an expert. I am just like you, trying to continue to develop my health, to get healthier, to make better decisions, so that we can all get back to our lives. But if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave a smack to that like button, a ring-a-ding-ding to that notification bell, and maybe even consider subscribing and sharing this content with your family and friends. I thank you guys so much for spending part of your day here with me. God bless you. Please take care of yourself, stay healthy, and we will see you in the next one.